We are into it. First of all, we are going to end all sanctuary cities. First, I will declare a national emergency. America first.
Governor Cox also cites a memo that Bernanke's office issued a memo calling Utah a sanctuary state.
New tonight after questions from 2 News, Harriman police now confirm a shooting was linked to the Venezuelan gang known as Tren de Aragua. It's our top story tonight on 2 News at 6. I'm Mark Cabell.
And I'm Heidi Hatch. The acknowledgement also follows an exclusive 2 News interview in which a top state investigator said the Venezuelan gang is here in Utah.
We have some breaking news for you. Thousands of anti-ICE protesters in downtown LA marching onto the freeway.
We begin our show tonight following the aftermath of a white supremacist rally in Harriman. We've learned dozens of members from the Patriot Front marched on the Harriman City Hall this afternoon. The videos here sent in by viewers of the march were posted to the Patriot Front website, with members heard repeating slogans like "Reclaim America." The Anti-Defamation League classifies the Patriot Front as a white supremacy group. Patriot Front members were also seen carrying a banner that said, "Deport invaders, keep America American," and flags that displayed Nazi symbolism.
Do you see what is happening right before our eyes? Second coming of the Lord. Jesus Christ will govern from Old Jerusalem and the New Jerusalem, built upon the American continent.
Welcome back to Live at Noon. It is 12:31. A new report posted by our content sharing partners at the Salt Lake Tribune in collaboration with ProPublica says Utah makes welfare so hard to get, some feel that they have to join or in some ways participate in activities of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in order to get aid.
The mandate given by the First Presidency and the presiding bishopric is to only focus on financial growth. EPA employees are told that the money will be used after the second coming of Jesus Christ or during Armageddon right before he would come again.
For the first time, we have an idea now of how much the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Big Investment Fund performed over the course of a year.
That fund is called Ensign Peak Advisors, and Fox 13 News investigative reporter Nate Carlisle found the public document showing how many billions of dollars it gained in 2020.
Over the last year, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been more forthcoming about how it's investing tithing money. This latest filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission shows that despite the economic downturn of the pandemic, the church's big investment fund made money. This filing with the SEC shows the holdings of Ensign Peak Advisors at the end of 2020. When added all up, it shows the fund gained more than $6 billion in one of the most difficult financial years in American history.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. Trump Eyes 2025. The Prevention of Zion. So in case you're a Mormon and you have no clue about the reality of what's going on right now, and you are unaware of how doing away with sanctuary cities, the sanctuary state of Utah, deporting everybody. Section 45 of the Doctrine and Covenants, starting in verse 66. And it shall be called the New Jerusalem, a land of peace, a city of refuge. Sanctuary. Sanctuary city. Zion. In the latter days, you think it's second coming of Jesus, and Trump is saying no sanctuary cities. Trump is going against Jesus, going against Mormon Jesus. And so, kind of important to know this. If you think that you're a Mormon and you're okay with what Trump's doing. Because there's a conflict. Trump says no Zion. Nelson says Jesus is coming in a coming day. Is Jesus going to murder Trump? Take the government from him? As a Mormon, that's what you believe. And so you voted for Trump, did you? And you're a Mormon, are you? Does Trump know about this? I did the videos back when Trump established the Space Force about how he was going to murder Jesus when he comes from outer space. Nobody cared. Nobody thought it was real. And yet you all have spiritual witness feelings that Jesus is real. A place of safety for the saints of the Most High God. Glory of the Lord shall be there, the terror of the Lord shall be there, insomuch the wicked will not come unto it. And it shall be called Zion. And it shall come to pass among the wicked that every man that will not take his sword against his neighbor must needs flee unto Zion for safety. And there shall be gathered unto it out of every nation under heaven. And it shall be the only people that will not be at war one with another. So we're seeing a civil war in the United States of America, because that's where Zion is, the New Jerusalem is, and a world war. And in case you're a Mormon and you've been living under a rock your whole life, Article of Faith number 10, rather than 12. We believe in the literal gathering of Israel and the restoration of the 10 tribes, that Zion, the New Jerusalem, will be built upon the American continent. Mexico, right? That Christ will reign personally upon the earth, and that the earth will be renewed and receive its paradisical glory. Trump said, no Zion. He has put a ban on Zion. 4 years, huh? Already, Congress is pushing a third term in office bill. It's passed the House, or at least the committee. And so, you have a conflict, Mormons. Do you obey, honor, and sustain the law? Number 12. We believe in being subject to kings, presidents, rulers, and magistrates, and obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. The law now is no Zion. Are you going to obey it? Nelson gave Trump the middle finger and said, bleep you. You cheering for Nelson? Yeah, get Trump! So there's some problems that are coming. The burden of Pharaoh is going to be made worse on us. Yeah. Nelson is being propped up as the man like Moses. Seriously, Nelson? After all we've been through together? This is what you're gonna do, huh? Nelson. So, in Trump news, he imposed tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico, and China on Saturday. And Mexico and Canada returned with tariffs of their own on America. The United States. China just doesn't care. It's nothing to them. It doesn't hurt China one way or the other. Everybody is reliant upon China because of the over 1 billion customers in China. And so, if you've paid attention to the past, people go begging on hands and knees to be forgiven for not saying the right thing to China. There's even people like John Cena of the WWE who learned Chinese to apologize in Chinese to China, who did not appreciate his disloyalty to China. And so, yeah, China doesn't care. They have yet to do a tariffs on America stuff, but, you know, they've already got into our nation with AI, so it's no big deal. They can use AI now to hack our banks, to hack our government, and steal whatever they want. This is the evil national security threat of AI. I've warned my government, I've done the videos with you, and nothing is being done to stop it. So, yeah, what are the consequences of these tariffs? Well, if you get imports from Canada, Mexico, China, expect a higher price to pay for them. Canada, being aware of what's going to happen to them now, because nobody's going to want to buy from Canada, Mexico, and China because of the higher prices, are talking about an emergency rush to get a pipeline for gas and oil from east to west so that they can be self-reliant, self-sufficient, which is what America should have done this whole time. And this is where the danger of the tariffs come in, is because Trump did not make America self-sufficient, self-reliant on itself. We are dependent upon imports. We don't have companies to replace those imports. And part of that is because the government wants to be able to trade with other countries, and so we never cared about ourselves as a result. But instead of Trump offering benefits for companies to start up and work in America, he's instead doing the tough love thing of creating an emergency crisis for big businesses to then step up and do what they should have done previously. And of course then Trump will take bribes and then do quid pro quos to benefit the companies. Utah does that same thing, as they don't take bribes, but they bribe companies to come to Utah, give them a whole bunch of money to come, other favors, as well as tax breaks, so that they can come to Utah. kind of a desperate thing to do, rather than have Utahns be allowed to create those businesses right here in the state of Utah. The government of Utah has no clue how to run a government. That is blatantly obvious. Anyway, that's what happens when you let the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints tell you how to run the state. So you do need to understand that the consequences that we are experiencing here in Utah is because of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints telling the government what to do and what not to do, and what the church has been allowed to get away with. And so when they officially take over this land as their kingdom, we'll see the escalation of the consequences of their inability to run a government. And so as a result of this shock and awe tactic of Trump, there are going to be many people who are going to suffer. People are going to have to change their diet depending on which foods get affected. People are going to have to figure out a way to get cheaper travel. And remember, Trump did away with all of the electric vehicles. And so gas and oil are going to skyrocket now because we import. And so he said, we're going to drill, baby, drill, but it takes time for the drilling to occur and getting it to be processed for the gas stations and all that stuff to be implemented for you. So it's going to be a delay. And so there's going to be a purging that will occur because of this. People need transportation not only to obtain groceries and other basic necessities at stores if they can't get it through Amazon, but transportation is also a basic necessity to get to work so that you can pay for a lifestyle, to be able to afford food, clothing, shelter, transportation, energy and fuel, etc. Communications. And so when people are going to be unable to pay for transportation because it's just too expensive, then they lose their job. Then they lose their home. They don't have money for food. And oh no, if you're Mormon, you can't pay the church tithing. You were told you have to pay tithing first. I should do that as another video. Yeah, there it is. Stay tuned for that video. Maybe this should be that video. Or protests. Because the protest, we got tariffs, we got two. Maybe I'll just repeat the same content with just different thumbnail pictures and different titles of the video. So, yeah, this is what's coming. This is going to lead to an economic catastrophe. The stock market today, it's going to fall. It's going to fall hard because of the specific companies that benefit from the imports from Canada, Mexico, and China. And guess who is the major stockholder on the stock market? The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They're going to be selling their stock and making a profit off of it. I warned you to pay attention to the stock market in advance of a coming event. Here it is. Did you pay attention to Friday? That was the precursor. And so all this weekend, now that the tariffs have happened, you're going to see a crash in the stock market beginning today. There won't be a recovery anytime soon. the companies, the big companies that are investors, they're going to make sure that they sell their stock to profit. So don't worry about Musk. You can go to the debt clock and see how much money Trump is funneling into his bank account. The Dodge Musk bank account. It was over 42 billion last I saw. Let's do a check on that right now. I had a person try to justify that the debt clock for Dodge that began last week, wasn't it? Is how much Dodge is saving from the debt. $52 billion, 363,700,800, 900,000, and it's going too fast for me to keep count. That's debt, people. That is not savings. That's going directly to Musk. That is his paycheck for being in part of Dodge. So don't feel sorry for Musk with whatever happens today. Dear God, we're all doomed. Alrighty, I believe the stock market is already up and going. Let's see if we can find out what is happening live. Stock market. I wonder if they should do a real-time thing here. Yep. Because I don't think this was Friday. Maybe it was. Let's see if I can find a live version, because typically I see that moving. Stock market live. Dow futures slammed by 600 points after Trump hits Canada, Mexico, and China with tariffs. And yep, that was at 6:51 Utah time. So yep, sure enough. Fell 622 points. Well, everybody's selling. Major European equity markets sunk. Bitcoin tumbled. The ICE US dollar index. ICE has its own dollar. It's tanking. Crude oil jumped on concern of supply distributions in North America. Okay. But they're saying leaped for the ICE, but it was only 1%. So, yep, there it is. Live updates. Live updates. Come on. Don't do this to me. It's AI that's preventing me from doing this, because I never had this problem previously. this screen that I can edit, but it pisses me off. So that was Friday. Loss of 337 because it's not updating in real time. And so yeah, it lost 600 already, which if it gets to 7%, I think it is, the stock market automatically stops, gives everybody a breather for 15 minutes, and then resumes for the further crashing. So yep, that's the church. Church was up bright and early this morning with all of their dozens of different LLC corporations that invest in the stock market, all of them pulling stocks to make the church money. They did this in 2020. They're doing it now. Here we go. And so we're talking massive trillions that the church is going to be getting off of this when all is said and done. And so the other thing that Trump did was impose duties to address the flow of illicit drugs across our national border. So you have to, if you're transporting illicit drugs, you have to pay an extra duty fine. And I just did the video yesterday on the lesson for Sunday school, Come Follow Me. I explained Oliver Cowdery. And yet you got this guy who thinks he's so cool, he knows it all, wearing the white shirt and tie, doing the picture of the home in the background with Oliver Cowdery's picture, and he says, beyond, come follow me. You're not supposed to go beyond the mark. And yet, thousands of views in just the one day. And so, yeah, he's clever and calling it beyond, come follow me. He knows nothing. He's not an expert in the field, and yet he's able to sucker Mormons because he's faith promoting. Truth destroys faith. So says Packer. So says Packer. Okay? And, I mean, seriously, you are going to claim the church is true by calling me mentally retarded? People just don't want to be good. And the consequences are about to smack you up your bleep and bleep bleep. Because you chose to be bad. And here come the consequences. Book of Mormon warns you about this over and over again. Lamanites, Zoramites, King Noah. You just don't learn. There are consequences. You can't do whatever you want and not have the consequences. It's like people just don't get it. They go out, they get drunk, and then they wake up in some other place that they don't know where they are, and they're missing their underwear and a kidney. And then they go back and do it again the next weekend. Consequences. You can't complain about the consequences of your actions. That's how you're supposed to judge whether your word is true or not. And people just don't care to get it. So I have no empathy or sympathy for any of you who choose to be bad. Venezuela have caved before Trump issued tariffs. We'll take all of you deported. And yet, Utah is not. And so, this is also interesting in the news over the weekend. In Los Angeles and other places in the United States, anti-ICE protests rose up. And yet, sanctuary state Utah, giving the middle finger to Trump, did not hold an anti-ICE protest over the weekend. Instead, there was a group that protested Utah being a sanctuary state. I warned you. This is why I've been pushing with a whole new picture of Joseph Smith's 19 July 1840 by Corray, the wife of Corray. Hilarious. Missed that video, did you? So it sucks to be you to not understand what I'm talking about then. I do the research. I know this church is a criminal operation. They've been plotting this right now for 200 years. And so for you to come to this one video and go, no, you're lying, prove it. Yeah, 8.3K videos. Start watching. So yeah, I have no respect for anybody who makes a hasty judgment because they refuse to do the research and study. And how old are you? How long have you been Mormon? And you go by spiritual witness feelings still? Bleep you all. Trying to save your lives and you just don't even care to be saved. You don't care about the consequences of your actions that are going to destroy your life. And here I am, being attacked by you, trying to save your lives. Bleep you all. And so this is what Oaks got leaked for. And I'm not repeating this information over and over again for every video. We're already at 30 minutes. I need to make this quick so I can get to other videos. I need to bathe and shave this time today. Guess it was Saturday that I got so caught up in that research video. So, we are a sanctuary state. The church purposely have been giving aid to illegals and aid to refugees who are Islamic sleeper cell terrorists. The church has been funding terrorism through Saudi Arabia and through other Islamists who fund terrorism through the same process that the church funded these different Islamic leaders, humanitarian aid. That's the cover story to fund terrorism. The Red Cross going into Gaza. Gaza is terrorists. They are not good people. They are not religious people. They are terrorists. Hamas is the military of the people. The United States of America, we have people, we have a government, we have a military. That's Islam. Wherever they are, there's the people, there's the government, there's the military. The government typically is religious. The military is religious. They are set on the teachings of the Quran to be militant, because that was Muhammad's method of conversion. Join or we murder you and burn your village. And 72 child bride virgins for any man who dies in the holy war for Allah. Mormons only get 10. And so the church, by doing the whole campaign, We Are Muslim, to distract away from the religion of Islam. Islam is the religion, Muslim is the culture. Just like Jew is the religion and Jew is the culture. Mormon is the religion. Mormon is no longer the culture. Nelson did away with our culture. Did you not go to conference? You went on vacation, didn't you? And so you don't believe? No. Really? When was the last time you saw a road show in this church? Of course, those have been done away with for a while now, but previous to Nelson. But he did away with other cultural stuff. The cultural events during the year. You know, you'll get maybe a bishop who wants to rebel, but the funding was cut off to the various wards. And so it made it so that it's now a home-centered church. Remember that? You know, come follow me. Hello? They're doing away with their responsibilities as religious leaders, as they claim they were. And so this supporting of illegals during the Biden administration, which is when they did it, they also pushed an anti-porn immediately in 2021. On purpose. There's a reason why they do what they do when they do it. And that's because Oaks got leaked, saying, we're in charge of all of this. And so yes, that's why I can say that the sell-off on the stock market right now is the church profiting off of it. They pumped it up, and now they're selling. Buy low, sell high. Just like 2020. And you don't see the damage. Because the church would claim, well, we're preparing for the coming of Jesus. We're getting as much money as we can to build Zion. But again, Trump, no Zion allowed. So where is the ICE in Utah? It got to the point where people are saying, hey, why isn't ICE doing their job in Utah? It's not just me doing the videos. Others are now aware of this. They may not be aware of Nelson's first presidency statement and said, bleep you, Trump. We are going to fund terrorism and bleep you. Purposely done so that the enemy will come as a thief in the night to Utah and destroy it. The church then can claim victim of religious persecution and get government funding. See, destroying all the temples and the churches and Temple Square, they can claim to demand government funding to pay for the damages. But the money, no, they've got trillions in offshore bank accounts. The money that they're getting here, yeah, it's not going to go and stay in the LLC company. It's going to be laundered to other stuff to get into the offshore bank accounts. That's what they do. Nelson said in response to the whistleblower in 2019. And so there's a federal hiring freeze, which is already hurting Utah. Firefighters are not able to prepare for the coming drought that has already begun, in which the lack of water that we're getting, lack of snow on the mountains, is going to cause some problems this summer. And so with the hiring freeze of Trump, our firefighters are not able to prepare in advance for what's going to be potentially ugly for fires this year. Oh, right. Yeah, I'm pissed off with Israel. I mean, yeah, I can understand you value your people better than you value Islam. And Islam thinks that they're getting away with something here. But Hamas are the enemy. They were the ones that took hostages. Israel went in to get their hostages back and put an end to the terrorism of Hamas, the military of Gaza. And so you have the citizens who are recruited into the holy war of Hamas, who are staying in Gaza and fighting Israel, and then they claim to be the victims. And so you see the news ever since October 7th talking about, oh no, the hospital's been bombed, children. And they're not blaming the Islamic parents who chose to sacrifice their children to claim to be martyred victims of Israel, who's merely defending themselves, trying to get their hostages back. And so they take prisoners of the civilians who are fighting with Hamas or Hezbollah or the Houthi, etc., wherever Islam is attacking Israel from now. And the news just doesn't care to cover the truth on this. They cover it with Ukraine, they won't do it with Israel. There's a complete contrast in the news coverage of Ukraine being under attack versus Israel being under attack. And it's just pathetic to see that the UN was directly responsible for the attack on October 7th, and that they are giving aid and comfort to the terrorists. When you give aid and comfort, like Nelson says he's giving aid and comfort to illegals and sleeper cell Islamic terrorists, you are the enemy too. You are the terrorist. The UN is terrorists. And so I'm surprised Trump hasn't pulled out from the UN. It's only been WHO and the Paris Accord so far. But I expect the UN to be pulled out of by the United States in the coming day. We'll see. All right, that's it. Cool. 40 minutes, huh? So pay attention. Life is going to get tough for you. And that was the prophecy. Remember, Nelson failed in 2021, and then they tried again several times, and so the scriptures were for 2021. 3 Nephi 7, for example. But because of their failures, they're rebooting it here. And so you can't do a direct carryover with the scriptures, if you understand what I'm talking about, because I'm not redoing that video. And so understand that things may go faster, things may go slower, things may go out of order from what the original plan from 200 years ago was, because of this failure of Nelson. So, hang on. I tried to warn you, and here it is. Sucks to be you guys now. Oh, yeah. I almost forgot. Child Faith sent me a picture link about which state has which country as an export trader, and not an import trader. export trading partner. And he wanted me to help explain why Hong Kong is for Utah. Well, Hong Kong is a part of China, and it shouldn't be called Hong Kong anymore. She gets angry when people call Hong Kong rather than the People's Republic of China Hong Kong, similar to Taiwan, in which John Cena had to apologize for and learn Chinese to apologize, is that it's the People's Republic of China of Taiwan. It is not Taiwan. Hong Kong has been given back to China. And so the church are in bed with China. China has been purchasing land in Utah. And the other year, the legislature was finding out that the church is unable to purchase property for temples because of China's purchasing of Utah land. And so they passed a law forbidding China from obtaining any more land in the state of Utah. And other states have had to deal with China's buying up of America. This is one of China's tactics to overthrow America. And once a war escalates with China, you're going to see Hong Kong being cut off from Utah, and thus the land will be made available again. And thus the church will be able to claim the land from China, or Hong Kong in this particular case. And so this is part of the church's plot. That's why they allowed China in. But you have China that dominates in Washington and Oregon, Louisiana, and South Carolina, where Canada dominates for the majority of the American states, Mexico only at the southern border, Brazil for Florida, Belgium for, is that Maryland or is that Delaware? I think that's Delaware. And then you've got France for, oh my hell, it's been too long since I've memorized the states. I was forced to memorize them. But there's a pink thing for France. And then Switzerland for the Sin City state of Utah. Nevada. And then looks like Australia for Hawaii, and then China again for Australia. So interesting. Alaska is something to pay attention to. Putin wants Alaska so that he can bridge the land. And for China to be the major exporter there, Putin may run into a conflict with China over that. So we'll have to see what results from there. And so just because they're buddying up on some things doesn't mean they're going to buddy up on everything. There is some conflicts between Putin and Xi. So just understand that when World War III happens. And so, yeah, Canada, this is going to be a major blow to America with the tariffs on Canada. And so, yeah, Idaho all the way to the Maine. And it's going to be a massive blow to the companies in America because they won't be able to trade in Canada anymore. It's going to be too expensive for Canadians. They're not going to want the stuff. And so that's why Canada is now going to do the rushed pipeline now, so that they don't have to be dependent on what they're going to have to pay more from the companies in the various states here. So don't think that Utah is going to get away because we don't have Mexico or Canada as our major funder. Most of our fentanyl comes from Mexico through China. And they're going to have to pay a higher duty at the border now. Just awful. The one wife who murders her husband with fentanyl. Good God. What's wrong with you, Mormons? What happened to you?